And we are back. You are chatting with John P. Today, I'm going to be talking about some very important news in the watch community, as well as how this will be, or at least how I think that this will be affecting how we collect watches going into the future. It has to do with Holy Trinity brand, Patek Philippe, the brand that no one thought would ever change their ways. They changed their ways. I'll talk about it in a second, but please do not forget the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully everyone is doing as well as possible in the current economic status, as well as what's going on with the illness. So hopefully everyone is well from that. So let's talk about this topic. Here's the news, guys. Patek Philippe now is selling their watches online on the internet through authorized dealers, so far in the United States as well as the UK. That's right, the brand Patek Philippe is now in modern age. Now, I don't know if this is going to be temporary or long term, but I think a lot of it probably has to do with how long this economic crisis we're in really lasts. So here's the thing, guys. If you're not familiar, basically there are some brands out there, Rolex included, Patek Philippe included, and some others, but they have pretty much just refused to really come up to the digital age. Sure, they do digital marketing and a myriad of other things that involve technology, but they don't sell watches on the internet. And that is a whole long conversation and discussion for another time. But basically, many people out there and collectors out there and die-hard, long-term watch collectors that have loved Patek Philippe, including Rolex, they have been kind of felt that they've been left aside, cast aside, and pushed into the hands of other brands that are willing to kind of accommodate to current market status for watches and, allow them to buy online, do different things, and treat them a little bit better. This is the perception out there. And I want to mention that anything I talk about here is not necessarily my opinion on authorized dealers. The authorized dealers that I'll mention, I have nothing against them. In fact, I know some of them and I know them very well and they do a great job, but it's really the brand Patek Philippe that I may be expressing some opinions on. And so what we have now currently is the brand has authorized, or at least rumored to have authorized, but certainly the watches are available to be purchased brand new through authorized dealer websites. You can see it on Hamilton Jewelers, a very old jewelry and watch company in the United States with several locations. It's on London Jewelers, another very old, rich history jeweler in the United States. And then you also see it in Lang's in the UK, as well as Watches of Switzerland. And so these are some of the bigger Patek Philippe dealers, and you can now buy their watches on the internet. Now, this may be blowing the minds of many people out there that have watched the brand kind of, I don't want to say mature because they've always been mature, but they've really kind of solidified their path and making themselves comfortable with being Patek Philippe, and they will not be moved from the status quo, and they will do everything that they always have. But not anymore. They're selling watches online with the rest of us, including the guys at delraywatch.com, which is us. So they're selling Patek Philippe's right up next to pre-owned watches. Now, I think this is unbelievable to see this. Guys, this is really unbelievable, seriously, because there's no press release surrounding this. They didn't tell anyone, and all of a sudden one day it pops up on these authorized dealers' websites, and now you can buy the watches. Now, I will say, there's no Nautilus, there's no Aquanaut, and so many of you out there are going to go to these websites. You're going to see that the watches that you wanted from them anyway are not available, and it doesn't do a whole lot. But what it does do is it shows that when you are a brand, it doesn't matter if you're in the watch industry or the widget industry or the stuffed animal industry. It doesn't really matter, but you need to understand what customers want and you need to give it to them. And you see, at a time right now where a brand like Patek Philippe never adapted, no longer really held the hands of the overall watch collecting community. Sure, there may have been some special VIP clients that got preferential treatment either from the brand or the US version of Patek Philippe, Henri Stern in New York, or even from some of the authorized dealers for Patek Philippe. But they left a lot of the watch collectors really cast aside, and now they show up late to the party because all the authorized dealers are closed. Authorized dealers are forced to be closed for, who knows, maybe till June. They're not placing orders because no one's walking in the store and buying a Calatrava for, a retirement gift or anything like that. So now they're letting them sell the watches online, and these are watches that are generally not as desirable or not the most desirable, so they're still leaving the collectors unserved, in my opinion. There's going to be some exceptions. There will be maybe a handful of people that buy these watches, but generally these are the watch models that are not as in demand as some of the others. So what does this mean going into other brands? I think that it is a brave step, and a very late step, but a brave step nonetheless. It shows that really a brand cannot control the market. A brand cannot control the world. A business cannot control the world. A brand or business must adapt to what is going on in the world. So in the coming months, we'll see what happens. We'll see if it's successful. Maybe check some of these authorized dealers' websites. Maybe they will have some Nautilus. Maybe they will have some Aquanaut. If the markets take another downturn and the purchasing for these stainless steel models is not there, there's a pullback in the watch market, maybe you'll see them show up very late, not even fashionably late to the party, and they will have some Aquanauts, they will have some Nautiluses, and maybe some people will be willing to give the brand a second chance. I know many watch collectors, I see it in the comments below on every video that I've been making over the last few years. People have said they're very upset the way that the brands that they've loved for the last 50 years no longer want them as customers. Maybe they'll gain some of those collectors back, maybe they won't. Only time will tell. But do you think that Rolex, do I think that Rolex is going to be next in line? I've made a previous video and some people in the comments section don't believe me. It doesn't matter. Call around. You'll see that I'm telling the truth. Go onto the forums right now. Rolex sports models in modern have gone down and they're trading dealer to dealer very, very low. It's just the situation. People are getting calls. They've been on the wait list for 2 years. They're getting a call last week with 3 of the watches that are the most in-demand sports models. Batmans, Submariners, and Daytonas in stock. They're getting pushed through the ADs that are still open till today. But is Rolex going to adapt this strategy? Are they going to kind of tip their toe in the water a little bit and see what happens? Or are they going to wait and see what happens with Patek Philippe? I think that if the times get bad enough, they'll be forced to do it, right? A brand and a business that has existed for so long really does eventually have to adapt with the times if they're forced to. And if they're not making sales, they can't make payroll, they can't necessarily afford to, or it doesn't make fiscal sense to keep watchmakers on staff that actually produce the inventory. They have to do something, and the only thing that they do is they produce watches so that they can sell them. So they have to sell the watches one way or another, and if people can't go to stores, then they'll have to buy them online. So perhaps we'll see Rolex be the next brand or manufacturer that no one thought would ever sell watches online because they're in the most prestigious brand that doesn't need to sell watches online. Do they need to sell watches online now? I don't know, but it looks like Patek Philippe does. What do you guys think about this scenario? Leave it in the comments below. Are you surprised? Are you not surprised? Did you know, or did you guess that perhaps this would eventually catch up to these brands? And what do you think about it? Leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. Hopefully everyone is well once again, and we'll see you next time. You have been chatting with John P. Ciao.